Horror media these days has been thriving, with the upcoming release of the FNAF 2 movie, Season 5 of Stranger Things just coming out to critical acclaim, and Pennywise on his show and about to come up on his final episode. These three are the big talk of what's happening in horror right now. So why not compare the three big bads of each show or movie in one's case, and see who would win in a fight to the death. Springtrap, William Afton, the man behind the slaughter. Vecna, or Henry Creel, once a lab experiment and now the Mind Flayer's 5-star general. And Pennywise, the dancing clown, a ancient eldritch horror that came from God knows where. If you were to put all three in a battle royale, who would win? We will be using Season 5 Vecna, Pennywise from his two most recent films on the show, and base canon Springtrap from the games and books. We will be accounting for both of the physical forms of the characters and maybe the more spiritual essence of the characters, such as Pennywise's deadlights and Springtrap's soul. Vecna doesn't really have anything like this of the sort, so it's not really much of a problem for him. But speaking of Vecna, why not start with him in this ranking? Vecna is a bare minimum wall level character off of overpowering 11 who can throw around vans to a wall level degree, or being constantly betrayed as superior to demogorgons, who even Will, who is just using his power, can essentially just murk them. Who have constant wall smashing, busting, etc. feats. Taking flamethrowers, bullets, all get demogorgon into this tier as well, and not only does people with Vecna's power just murk them, or people below Vecna murk them, they quite literally just cuck down to Vecna. And once again, that makes sense. He is the 5-star general of the upsidown, being superior to pretty much anyone who isn't the Mind Flayer. But for higher scaling, this would range from the building plus tiers of power to the large building tiers of power. This is through the portal creation, which people like Vecna, Elle, and even the Demogorgon do with physical strain due to physical strain, as not only do the Demogorgons just physically tear open the portals with their brute strength, we have seen Elle, when opening these portals, get physically strained to the point where she bleeds from it, and Vecna essentially has the same powers as Elle. And due to the character statements on how it would magnetically affect gravity, magnetic waves, and swallow up people whole, even the basic portals would get into the building plus ranges of power, something we, as I just kind of implied, should scale to their attack potency and durability. A similar feat in power is when Vecna created the physical form of the Mind Flayer, which is a large building level feat which is consistent with the Mind Flayer's size on its own, getting to the same tier if not the city block ranges of power, so this is very consistent. However, he does have higher scaling. At the end of Season 4, he creates giant fissures in the earth which cause a 7.4 magnitude earthquake in the final episode of Season 4. As we explained previously, this would scale to AP and durability, therefore granting Vecna large town-level attack potency off of the fissures themselves, and the earthquake grants enough energy to destroy small cities. However, there is two higher ends for the aforementioned portals. One is the fact that the portals are mentioned to be essentially greater in energy and scale than anything a human can produce. Well, this not only would just provide consistency to the higher ends of Vecna's power, you can argue this might apply to things such as nuclear warheads, which, considering the fact that the Russians, people who, created nuclear warheads and other bombs of the sort, could not open the portal after it was reclosed, and only people like Vecna and 11 have shown the ability to essentially do this, and with Russians just in general being a big plot point in the show, as well as the whole political military aspect of it, you can make the argument that they would be superior to nukes in terms of energy, meaning this would not only be at least consistent with Vecna's other city statements, potentially higher depending on the bomb, and if the statement is talking about literally everything in human history, and if you want to say that implies to higher bombs that would get into the mountain ranges of power. The other higher end is off of the interpretation that they're disrupting the entire planet's magnetic field. with these portals, which is somewhat kind of stated and somewhat kind of implied by not only the scientist where all these demons are coming from, but also Dustin, as he kind of explains with the compass, that they are indeed affecting a magnetic field of some sort.
You can change the direction of the compass with a magnet. If there's the presence of a more powerful magnetic field, the needle deflects that power. And now remember when Mr. Clark said, the gate would have so much power. Disrupt the electromagnetic field? Exactly.
This, and if you want to use this interpretation, Vecna would be in the continental ranges of power. For speed, Vecna should be just subsonic off of upscaling off the Demogorgons who can blitz humans on several occasions. Vecna obviously has his mind hacks going into people's minds and fucking with them in there. He can BFR people to their minds or to the upside down, and mild regeneration. Next, let's move on to Pennywise. Like Vecna, he is bare minimum wall level feats from all the different ways he simply mauls and kills humans and smashes, they even just kind of smashes walls and other structures in some cases. Their physical ends would be in these small building ranges due to the fact that his lair in Chapter 2 collapsed upon him, something he seemingly did, a small building level feat. Something I do want to know is that I don't want to take the statements of him devouring worlds or using novel statements and use like the novel scaling due to lack of evidence for him cutting to the novel in the film. Well, it's obviously implied he came from some outer space and there is references to the novel. There's obviously also many differences from the novel for better or for worse. Now there are things like the Dark Tower even mentioned in this. And if you really want to take statements at its most hyper-literal value, then it would only be fair to include things such as Bonnie transcending space and time, or the portals in Stranger Things tearing through space and time. 2 feats far above mere devouring worlds if our goal is to take things hyper-literally. His regular physical form should be in the small building and subsonic ranges of power and speed due to blitzing humans with the illusions and perception stuff. However, the deadlights would be far higher. The deadlights being higher is due to them taking the meteor crash, which on its own in the visual scene that we see in the show is a building plus feat. However, a higher end comes in when the fact that you from when you take in the art book was described as how it left a massive crater and went through layers of the earth. This would get into the town levels of power. For speed, the deadlight should actually be light speed, as it is just pure light, as stated in the art books. And obviously having the deadlights, you know, you look into them, you kind of go, so yeah. Now for Springtrap. Springtrap would range into the buildings and multi-city blockers of power. This is him not only upscaling off of things like the OGs via overpowering them into bits, you can take building levels of energy as shown in the week before within them, and also within the original novellas, beating up the Twisted Ones who have several feats of taking small buildings to building level explosions all throughout their respective books. But also arguably scaling to the Mimic, whose statements do compare him to, who can fight against the Blob, someone who could cause earthquakes through the entire Pizzaplex and dig large underground tunnels throughout the place, a large building to multi-city block level feats. Springtrap bare minimum would get into the sub to supersonic ranges of speed due to his constant blitzing of humans and gunfire, with things like Puppet being compared to lightning and speed and then make moving in nanoseconds potentially getting him higher, though it is possible these feats aren't valid and maybe even potentially outliers. Springtrap has several hacks. He is obviously immortal in the sense that he will always come back. This is due to his remnant and his agony and his soul, which really, as you can dispose and kill of the physical body of Springtrap, and it would be quite hard without, a lot of heat to essentially dispose of Springtrap permanently. Combine that with the soul just simply being able to possess people if he wants to and essentially transfer host, and him having physical illusions with the phantoms, making people see illusions of their past and such, almost in a Pennywise-esque vein as revealed in one of the Fazbear Frights books. That kinda is interesting as well. Now, who wins? This fight is very interesting, as it's not purely a stat-based fight. Before that, let's get something out of the way. Pennywise' physical form is obviously the weakest and slowest. Pennywise' physical form gets demolished, even with his illusions, which Vecna and Springtrap both also have, which means it doesn't really matter and are probably smart enough to realize that it's just an illusion. Pennywise gets carried by the deadlights. His physical form gets taken out almost instantly in this kind of three-way battle royale. The only way you can genuinely make an argument winning is the fact that Springtrap and Vecna both have some weakness to fire to some degrees, and Pennywise could, in his physical form, exploit that. However, not only would that require Pennywise to gain the knowledge of that first, that would also require the fact that he doesn't simply get blitzed and beaten up beforehand, but Springtrap can blitz him and is more powerful, and Vecna is simply more powerful. And assuming they don't just resist the illusions, considering they have their own illusion or mind hacks or whatever. And even in some cases, both can kind of resist fire to a degree. We see this with Vecna in Season 5, he just kind of blocks a flamethrower, and Springtrap could survive the fire in FNAF 3. But now let's look at each of their win cons and see who would go out first. Shockingly, I think Vecna would actually be the one to get out first, aside from Pennywise's physical form, is that aside from Pennywise's physical form and actually Springtrap's physical form, I think when it comes down to it, Vecna would actually kind of be the third loser in the scenario. As well, Vecna would simply be able to overpower both of their physical forms. It wouldn't kill his soul or the deadlights, as both are non-physical. And both his soul and both Springtrap's soul and the deadlights have easy win cons that Vecna can't really counter. And his physical brute force just simply wouldn't matter at that point. While Vecna can also go into their minds and maybe mess with them, Springtrap has fought back against Golden Freddy doing a similar thing in a weakened state, and Pennywise does the same thing, so that's not an option. Mind hacks is almost a non-factor in this fight. However, a win con I guess Vecna does have is BFRing them to the upside down, which would actually work on both of them, but this requires him to force them into the upside down, which not only is their soul and the deadlights non-physical, despite being objectively more powerful, he is significantly slower than both of them, as the deadlights are light speed and Springtrap is higher into subsonic or supersonic. He is either rendered a victim of possession or the deadlights. Now Springtrap versus Pennywise. I actually think this one is quite simple, as well. Possession is a perfectly fine win con seemingly. The deadlights are just faster, even if you want to take Springtrap's high ends of like the nanosecond statements or Puppet's lightning reaction, then Penny is still faster, and the deadlights are an easy win con. So if we count into the fact they're more non-physical forms, and the rest would go Pennywise, Springtrap, and Vecna. But if we purely restrict to the avatars and just a defeat instead of a just outright kill, then Vecna should just kind of be one-shotting Springtrap and Pennywise's physical form while not blinking a sweat. Even if Springtrap is faster, Vecna would eventually get a hit, which is all he needs to kind of one-shot. Especially if he doesn't just force Springtrap into the upside down, since a death wouldn't really be applicable at that point if we're just in a strictly knockout scenario. So overall, in terms of their avatars, Vecna is the strongest, while in terms of the more non-physical forms that Pennywise and Springtrap has, they have win cons over Vecna that I simply don't really see him countering. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, and join the Discord server in the link below. Peace.